Okay, so since we talked about aliens, now
Yes,
I have to ask. So, Hannah, you are a professional astrologer, and
I
I'm
am.
hearing a lot of crazy shit about 2025. I don't know when this is airing, so if you're listening to this right now, we're probably right in the beginning of 2025. But let's talk a little bit about aliens, which are like, from what I can tell, there it's like disclosure has happened very quietly, very underwhelmingly, and very
Mhm.
uh um confusingly, I would say. It seems to be kind
Yeah.
of squeaking under the radar to some degree, unless you're really paying attention, which of course I am. And so I just want to ask you, astrologically speaking, what is the deal with 2025 and what
Yeah.
could we expect based on these transits?
So there's a few transits, like 2025 is a big year transit wise. And I won't go into all of them because I think not all of them relate to aliens. And also they get into other stuff that we don't need to talk about politically. But one of the big ones is Pluto in Aquarius. And that's already happened in late 2024. So it's moved over into Aquarius. Now, the reason this is a big one is because Pluto has a bizarre transit. So it spends different amounts of time in each sign, but also, and each time it comes into the sign, it's actually slightly different. It has a weird orbit, but it spends a long time. Like it's in each zodiac sign. It can spend some 14 years in some, 20 years in another,
Mhm.
and so we're going to have around about 19, 20 years of Pluto in Aquarius.
Okay.
So this is big because Aquarius, if anyone is familiar with the zodiac and astrology, Aquarius is about really like new age, cutting edge information. It can relate to things like science, space exploration, health and medicine, very things that get us thinking completely different. It's very revolutionary. It is very rebellious, right? It's like this big big out of the box shake up that we get. It's also very surprising and unexpected. These are all of the things with Aquarius. Pluto as a planet is this planet of like rebirth. It is a planet of death. So it could be, in this regard, a death to old concepts and ideas and a rebirth into a new way of living, essentially. Right. Aquarius is also rules over conspiracy theories. So there's that aspect. And definitely aliens fall into this as well. Like space technology, technology in general, all of that. So Pluto and Aquarius, it'll be there for the next like 20 years. And we see this historical data set that we have, right? Because as astrologers, we can look backwards as well as forwards. So we can say, all right, when was the last time Pluto was here? What happened then? And what about the time before that? What happened then? And what about before that? And, we can go all the way back. So, we can go to 674 to 647 BCE and look at what was happening back then. Or we can skip ahead and look at like 1777 to 1798, which was the last time we had it there. And what was happening then? Like we had industrial revolutions and other revolutions that were going on. Like there was a lot of cultural change that
Mhm.
was going on. So we know that those sorts of things are likely to happen again. We've seen as well, if you want like an absolute deep dive on this, if this is piquing anyone's brain dopamine levels, then you want to listen to the Astrology podcast. Chris Brennan goes into it in like every single year, what is exactly happening. But the general gist for the general folk is we see things like uh, the latest technology, I guess, in one Pluto transit in Aquarius. So one Pluto in Aquarius, we might see like, oh, paper's been invented. Hello. And everyone's like, oh, this new thing, cool. But it's so like almost like a leap, like no one can actually access it. But by the time Pluto comes into Aquarius again, suddenly usually that technology, so paper, for example, gets stolen and then dispersed to the masses. And now everybody's got it.
Yeah.
And then we see the same thing with silk. Silk was like, this is the Silk Road happened during a Pluto and Aquarius transit and then dissolved during the next one because the silkworms were stolen in a cane, like a walking cane, and then taken back to the West to figure out how to make their own silk, right? So that happened during two Pluto and Aquarius movements as well. So we've got one where it's this highly prized, amazing material,
Mhm.
and we don't know how they make it, and we have no idea how to get it. So we have to pay these high prices. And then it's almost like democratized. Suddenly
Yeah.
everyone can access it, and it's cheaper and, easier to use. Like, it's a technology in a way.
Yeah.
And we see that as well with gunpowder historically being discovered or created during a Pluto and Aquarius transit. And then next thing you know, the next one, it's in guns. Like, we have those sorts of things available and they're being given out to people. So it's very intriguing watching those sort of historical things. So we can look now to sort of what technologies are happening right now, and then almost see like, okay, a couple hundred years, what's going to be like given out or democratized now, or those sorts of things. So topics around things like AI becoming either more accessible to people, or like computer stuff being more accessible to people. That's one thing. There's a lot of people that are saying potentially this, incoming technology, like that new technology that we might see, might be something like alien technology, right? It's a new thing. We won't understand it. We won't know where it comes from or how to make it yet. And then, when Pluto comes back to Aquarius, ages past our lifetime, that's when it might be more readily available for everyone. So we can sort of see the potential evolution. But right now, a lot of people are suggesting that perhaps we might at least get our hands on or be more aware of this external technology, right, and to be able to use it and then disperse it between us all. So there's kind of this aspect that's all sort of going on. But again, it's a 20-year transit. So I don't expect all of that's going to happen in 2025, even though there's other stuff that's going on with other transits. Mm-hmm. But I do think we might start to see the snippets. And by the end of this Pluto and Aquarius period, so in the next 20 years, we will 100% have a very different viewpoint on other forms of life, whether that is aliens or even AI being seen as a life form, right? So there's some really interesting thought concepts to be prepared for, but I think everyone's going to get a big shake up, and we're going to see a huge cultural shift as well.